How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball. Welcome back to another weekend of Premier League predictions when me and my brother go head to head in predicting Premier League outcomes. As you can see on the top hand side of the screen, it's 288 to Sim, 290 to me. So going neck and neck into this weekend's fixtures. The way the scoring works is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And let's get into the weekend action, and quite a difficult weekend to predict this weekend, to be fair, but one of the easier predictions is Brentford against Liverpool at the Brentford Community Stadium. Me and Sim have gone for the exact same scoreline here in 3-1 to Liverpool. Brentford have been going all right since Ivan Toney have come back, but I can't see anything but a Liverpool win. Mo Salah potentially being back. I think this game might come a bit too soon for him, but even without him, they're scoring plenty of goals. So 3-1 for me.
Yeah, I think he might be involved potentially off the bench. Obviously, Trent is out for this weekend as well. So whether that will impact Liverpool, it remains to be seen. I do think, playing at the G-Tech Stadium in a very compact pitch with the way Brentford like to play, congesting the central areas, could cause Liverpool some problems. I wouldn't be surprised if Ivan Toney gets on the score sheet, but I think Liverpool, with their firepower that they have, I think they will have enough to just get over that. And although they did have some struggles against Burnley last week, so that could suggest that might continue in this one. And I think Brentford will be confident they can get something out of it, but I've just gone for Liverpool to have too much for Brentford in this game, so 3-1.
Yeah, Liverpool are actually yet to win in this stadium since Brentford have been promoted. First game was a 3-3 draw last year, Brentford winning 3-1, but I think Liverpool do finally get the 3 points this weekend, and we've both predicted the exact same scoreline. Let's go to Turf Moor. It's Burnley against Arsenal. Both of us gone for convincing Arsenal victories. I've gone for 4-0 and Sim has gone for 3-0.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of a surprise that we've gone for an away win here. Arsenal banging form at the moment, just off the back of a 6-0 away win at West Ham, getting them back into the title race. Burnley, on the other hand, can't seem to buy a win for love nor money. They're very, very vulnerable at the back line as well, especially they're vulnerable from set pieces, which seems to be Arsenal's biggest strength. So I can't see anything but a dominant Arsenal win here. So I went for 3.
Yeah, absolutely. The same reasoning for me pretty much. I mean, don't really need to explain this one too much. For Arsenal having some really good results recently. I mean, that Liverpool win was really impressive. They absolutely smashed West Ham off the park last weekend, and I expect something similar this weekend against a Burnley side who are very open at the back. So I've gone for 4-0. Sim's gone for 3-0. Let's go to Craven Cottage as Fulham face Aston Villa, and bang out of form Aston Villa side against the Fulham side who are not exactly in the best form themselves, but did get back to winning ways last weekend. But me and Sim have gone for the exact same scoreline here again with a Desmond.
Yeah, and I think at Craven Cottage, I see Villa with their, I wouldn't say poor away form, but unpredictable away form. I do see them struggling, especially with the injuries they've been picking up recently. Tyra Mings might be back in action, but Carlos has picked up an injury. They've got Konsu's picked up an injury. Obviously, Buendia's still a long-term absentee. Boubacar Kamara's got an ACL, so they're starting to really pick up the injuries, and whether they have the squad to cope with it, I think that Fulham will be able to get some joy in terms of going to attack Villa, especially at home. I know Fulham aren't the best team, but on their day they can really hurt you with Marco Silva has a really good counter-attacking style. I do see Villa hurting Fulham going the other way, but I couldn't separate it, so I'm for 2-2.
Yeah, I couldn't really separate it either. And, what you've known about Aston Villa all season is how strong they are at home, and they can get found out a bit away from home. But actually, recently, their home form has been letting them down. They've been picking up a couple of points away from home. Last time out, absolutely battered Sheffield United 5-0, or was it 5-0 at Bramall Lane. But in this one, I think Fulham will go into this with a little bit of confidence, and I think they'll think they can get a result here against the Villa side, just not doing too well at the moment, albeit they played against Man United in a 2-1 loss, but definitely deserved to get more out of that game. So I think both sides will go into this thinking they can win it, and I think they'll just cancel each other out a little bit. So I've gone for 2-2. We go over to St James's Park, Newcastle against a Bournemouth side that is bang out of form at the moment, to be honest, in terms of results. They haven't won a game since the turn of the year. Newcastle, you just don't know what to expect from this Newcastle side, to be honest. They're conceding a lot of goals really of late. I've gone for 1-1 here. And I think at St James's Park, Newcastle will think they'll take all 3 points, and they'll be quite confident of that, especially against a Bournemouth side that haven't won, like I said, since the turn of the year. But I feel like Bournemouth will come up with a sort of plan to nullify Newcastle, to hit them on the counter and to really strut their stuff at St James's Park. So I've gone for 1-1.
Yeah, I've gone for Newcastle to just overwhelm Bournemouth in this game. I know Bournemouth are a very good team. I've been really impressed with them. They are without winning 5 games, so form has deserted them a bit. Newcastle, their form may be slowly starting to creep back. Unbeaten in 3, won 2 of the last 3 as well, but there was a 4-4 draw at home to Luton in there, so clearly still some vulnerabilities at the back, and that's why I've gone for them to concede at home to Bournemouth. But I do think, I know they're not in great form, Newcastle, but with home advantage against a Bournemouth side who are going to leave spaces going forward, I do see Newcastle being very aggressive up against them and just being able to overwhelm them. So I've gone for a 3-1 win for Newcastle.
Yeah, again, like as with Villa, uncharacteristic home form showing for Newcastle at the moment. 4-4 against Luton, 3-2 loss against Man City, which, kind of expected, and a 3-1 loss against Nottingham Forest as well. So they'll want to get back to winning ways, but I just feel like Bournemouth are a really good side as well. Even though they're not winning at the moment, they're still performing well, in my opinion. So 1-1 for me, 3-1 to Newcastle. For Sim, we go to the City ground as it's Nottingham Forest against West Ham. Sim has gone for 1-1. I've gone for 2-1 to Nottingham Forest here on the back of an embarrassing loss for West Ham, 6-0 at home. No matter who you're playing at home, you can't be losing 6-0, especially with some of the embarrassing defending that was on show that day. I feel like they will try and right those wrongs, and they will try and be much more defensively sound, and against the Nottingham Forest side who are not picking up too many points at the moment, but they are scoring a fair amount of goals, to be fair. I think that Nottingham Forest will just about get over the line at City ground.
Yeah, I've gone for a 1-1 draw here. I do think West Ham won a reaction to that horrible 6-0 defeat to Arsenal last weekend. So I do see them tightening things up a bit. I see this being a very transitional game. Both teams are going to look to exploit the other team's mistakes rather than trying to force the other team's mistakes. So I see this being a very cagey game up until a team looks to spring on the counter-attack and exploit the space, which I don't see a lot of. So I see both teams getting a goal with a bit of quality. Obviously, Forest have Gibbs White and Elanga and Awioni, good strikers, but so the West Ham with Kudus and Bowen. So I see both teams having a bit of quality, but I see a very cagey game, so I've gone for 1-1.
Next up, we go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Tottenham against Wolves. Sim's gone for 3-1 to Tottenham. I've gone for 2-1 to Tottenham. So we both see 3 points here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for Spurs. But I think it's going to be a very difficult game this weekend. Wolves, you know what you're going to get with them. Very hardworking. They can hit you on the transition with Pedro Neto, who's absolutely in firing form. But they do have their injury problems going into this game this weekend with Cunha being out. I do see them struggling to hurt Spurs consistently, but I also see Spurs having their own struggles in this game against a very solid Wolves side, so I've gone for just about 2-1.
Yeah, Spurs do have maybe a couple of injuries at fullback going into this game, which could maybe impact them against Wolves team who do like to play very wide, and with a back three, with wing backs as well, with Neto buzzing around in the wide areas. Wolves will fancy their chances to get in on those wide areas in the transition, and they have been fairly decent away from home. Obviously beat Chelsea 4-2 recently at Stamford Bridge, showing they can go away to these sides who like to attack them and get a win. But I think Spurs, with all their players back, they got that last-minute winner against Brighton. I think their tails will be up going into this game, and as much as they might have some difficulties defensively, I see them overwhelming Wolves going forward. And I think even though Wolves are a good defensive side, I think Tottenham will have too much in the offensive line, and I can see them creating a lot of chances here, and I've gone for 3-1.
Now, big game this weekend at the Etihad. It's Manchester City against Chelsea. Once again, me and Sim have gone for the exact same scoreline here in 3-1 to Man City. And they're just like a steam train at the moment, Man City, battering and beating everyone in their path. Chelsea, I think there have been a bit of an uptick in recent weeks. I know they had a really poor performance in the first half against Crystal Palace, but they did right those wrongs in the second half, ended up winning the game 3-1. But I just feel like Man City are going to have way too much for Chelsea this weekend. We saw Chelsea play Liverpool not so long ago and get absolutely found out, and I feel like it could be the same result this weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think obviously we saw City draw 4-4 away at Chelsea earlier in the season. What was one of the games of the season, and Chelsea showed in that game that they can really go toe-to-toe on their day with one of the best teams in the game. But City have made big improvements since then. They've tightened things up. They're on a bit of a relentless run ever since the turn of the year. I think it's 9 wins in all 10 wins now in all competitions in a row. They're looking electric. KDB looks better than ever since coming back from injury as well. I expect him to run riot. So apart from the fact that Chelsea are probably feeling a bit better about themselves after a good last-minute win against Palace and a good 3-0 away win against Villa, I think this is where that kind of momentum stops, and I do think they get found out here.
Yeah, me as well, to be fair. But at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United face Brighton. Sim's gone for 2-0 here.
Yeah, I think Brighton against away at Sheffield United will dominate possession. They do like to suffocate the opposition with the amount of time they keep the ball. I know Sheffield United got a really good win last weekend against Luton away from home, but I think Brighton will just pass them to death, and I think they will be able to open them up on occasion. And I've gone for, I don't think it's going to be a scintillating game, but I've gone for 2-0 to Brighton here. Yeah,
I'm looking at this game and I'm looking at Sheffield United. They had a really impressive win for them at Luton in a really crunch game down at the bottom. They rarely fail to score in recent weeks anyway at home, and they are scoring a fair amount of goals. 2 against Brighton. Did they play Brighton? That was in the Cup, right?
Yeah.
2 against Brighton in the Cup when ended up 5-2, 2 against West Ham, 2 against Luton, 1 against Brentford. They did fail to score, obviously, last time out against Aston Villa where they got torn apart. Brighton, on the other hand, we know what you're going to get with Brighton. You're going to get a really good attacking performance. They impressed at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in a 2-1 defeat last weekend. So I do think Brighton have all the possession, make all the running and take the victory. But I can see a goal in there for Sheffield United. So I've gone for 3-1 to Brighton in this game. And we go to Luton as Luton face Manchester United. We've gone for the opposite scorelines here. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Luton. I've gone for 2-1 to Man United, and Man United on the back of 3 wins in the Premier League. They are starting to look slightly better, albeit against Aston Villa. They were fairly lucky to win. But I feel in this game against Luton, against a tough Luton side to break down at home, I just feel like Man United will just about get over the line. Maybe another fortuitous win here.
Yeah, I've gone for Luton to get over the line. I think Luton are going to give Man United the impetus. They're going to give them the ball to control it. And I don't think United like being in that position. I think United like it when a team comes onto them and they can kind of transition on them. Luton are going to do the opposite. And also Luton being very strong from set pieces. Ross Barkley has been extremely good. Obviously, this tight, narrow pitch as well is where the space is for Rashford and Garnacho to be finding in those wide areas, which they like to. I think their space is going to be restricted. I think they're going to be playing those long balls to Adebayo, and I think he's going to be able to cause some problems. I think Barkley's going to be able to cause some problems in the centre. And I just think Luton are going to be well up this after a really disappointing loss to Sheffield United, where maybe Luton had more of the ball than they wanted. It's going to be the different game in this one. And I see Luton coming out on top here. So I've gone for 2-1 against Man United. And Man United in good form, but still not impressing me massively. So I'm not convinced by their performance level just yet.
Yeah, well, let's hope they do lose anyway. I'll take your result any day of the week. But last game of the weekend is Monday night football at Goodison Park. It's Everton against Crystal Palace. Sim's gone for 3-0. I've gone for 1-0 to Everton. You cast your mind back to the cup game a few weeks ago. This was the exact same scoreline. It was 1-0 to Everton. And I feel like, I don't know where Crystal Palace's goal is going to come from unless they score an absolute banger like Jefferson Lerma did against Chelsea last weekend. And Everton, they're doing all right at the moment. And I think they definitely can smell blood in this game against Crystal Palace coming to Goodison Park. I can't see many goals in it, but I definitely see Everton taking home the 3 points. Roy Hodgson looks like he won't be taking charge of this game. He's not taking charge of the press conference. They're saying he's ill. I imagine he's about to get sacked with potentially Oliver Glasner coming in. And if Glasner does come in, or if there's rumours for him to come in, I can see Crystal Palace putting in a bit of a spirited performance as well. But yeah, that's why I've just gone for 1-0.
I think, I don't know if he'll be in charge for this game, Glasner, but obviously Hodgson leaving is the right decision for everyone. He's outside is welcome. The fans don't want him there. And I agree. I think the whole news coming out today about Hodgson being ill is probably, I think they're probably going to announce a mutual parting of the ways between Hodgson and Palace. Maybe they're going to put it down to the illness, but I think he has been sacked. I think, as you say, Everton will go into this game super confident. I think they're going to really take the game and put a lot of pressure on Palace. And I think Palace are a bit brittle at the moment. I don't see them standing up to scrutiny. And I think Everton might be able to be on top of a bit of a battering here. So I've gone for 3-0. I just think they're just going to pump loads of balls into the box, set pieces. I don't see Palace having any sort of outball. We saw how Everton can press you really high when we played them, and they can be very effective there. And I don't see Palace being able to live with it. So I've gone for 3-0.
All right, and we move on to the star men. Sim's gone for Callum Wilson of Newcastle.
Yeah, came back into the frame against Forest with 90 minutes, playing at home against his old club as well, against a team who like to play attacking football, so maybe there'll be space for him in behind if Newcastle can time those passes to perfection, and I'm banking on him to score, so Callum Wilson.
Yeah, I've gone for Karu Mitoma of Brighton. They are away to Sheffield United this weekend, and I feel like Mitoma put in a really good display at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last weekend, giving Pedro Porro no ends of trouble, to be honest. I was really impressed with what I saw from Mitoma, and it's been hasn't been the same. Mitoma hasn't been the same this season as he was last season. He struggled with injury for a lot of this season. I think since coming back from the Asia Cup, he looked good against Spurs. So I feel like there could be some joy for Mitoma this weekend with his supreme dribbling and ability. And I feel like if there's something good going to come out of Brighton this weekend, it's very much likely to come through Karu Mitoma. So I've gone for Mitoma. Sim's gone for Callum Wilson. Those are our predictions this weekend. Let me know in the comment section below your predictions, your star man, and we'll see you next time.